time, they did not arrive as ghosts. They arrived as executioners of disbelief. On worlds across the stars, one whisper spread like wildfire, chilling every heart it touched. Stories don't kill until humans did. The chamber of the Arkan Dominion pulsed with light and arrogance. Thousands of voices overlapped in waves of smug certainty, echoing through the vaulted dome where empires decided the fate of lesser civilizations. Their senators wore flowing garments of crystal thread, their jeweled crowns glittering like artificial stars. They had grown fat on centuries of dominance, confident in the knowledge that nothing in the galaxy could threaten them. At the heart of this arrogance, stories of humans often surfaced as entertainment. They were a fabrication, one chancellor declared, a ripple of laughter breaking across the assembly. The product of frightened species, primitive worlds inventing a destroyer of destroyers to keep themselves brave. Others joined in, sneering at the very idea. Humans, according to the archives, were beings who could take words and myths and turn them into weapons, their stories so sharp that they cut civilizations apart. Supposedly, they fought not only with ships and steel, but with will, with imagination, with a defiance that no calculation could contain. Stories don't kill, a senator from the core systems mocked, slamming his claw against a marble desk. They inspire, they frighten, but they do not win wars. We have crushed empires with fleets numbering in the thousands. We have silenced faiths and broken legends. And humans, they were never real. The Dominion's war academies taught the same lesson. Cadets studied myths of Terrans as one might study parables, moral fables of struggle meant to encourage, but irrelevant to the galaxy's order. Their instructors repeated the mantra, legends are the armor of the weak. The strong have no need for myths. And so the council believed itself untouchable. They believed that stories were harmless, that myths could not harm an empire forged in iron and plasma. They believed this until the first signal came. The signal in the void. It was faint, too faint to be taken seriously at first. A pulse of radio distortion, whispering across the edges of the Perseid expanse. Dominion patrol fleets dismissed it as static or the malfunction of a forgotten buoy. But when the signal repeated, structured, deliberate, carrying fragments of old language, scientists perked up. It bore patterns eerily familiar, ancient encryption signatures long catalogued in the archives of myth. The closest match, Terran Standard, a language that did not, by all rational measure, exist. The initial response was amusement. An officer aboard the destroyer Valor's crown scoffed. Some backwater must have found the tailies and decided to mimic them. A primitive broadcast meant to frighten us with ghost stories. Yet curiosity gnawed. The signal was not random. It pulsed with precision like a heartbeat. It carried coordinates that pointed toward the barren edge of a starless gulf, a region avoided for centuries, dismissed as uninhabited. The council dispatched an exploratory fleet, 30 ships strong, more than enough to swat down whatever fool dared stir myth into reality. Their commanders wore smirks as they departed, certain they would return with laughter and recordings to mock in the chambers of power. But when the fleet approached the coordinates, their laughter faltered. Because the signal did not fade, it grew stronger. It carried not only coordinates but words. Old words spoken in a cadence lost to memory. We remember, we endure, we return. The words silenced the command decks. The signal was not a random backwater mimic. It was deliberate, purposeful, and ancient, and it called itself human. When legends take shape, the fleet pressed onward, though with less confidence. Their warships, sleek and angular, spread into attack formation as they neared the Gulf. The void was thick, oppressive, like a shroud of forgotten night. Then came the moment the galaxy shifted. Out of the darkness, a shape emerged, impossibly vast, impossibly old. It was not sleek like Dominion warcraft, but brutal, angular, scarred. Armor plates bore the gouges of 1,000 battles. The hull shone with none of the Dominion's artificial beauty. Instead, it radiated raw purpose, as though every line was drawn with the intent to kill. At first, the commanders thought it must be derelict, a corpse of a ship drifting from forgotten times. But then its lights burned awake. Engines rumbled with a voice like tectonic plates shifting, and across the void, a name blazed in jagged letters. UNS Revenant. The Dominion commanders froze. For centuries, the name had lived only in whispers, footnotes in forbidden archives. The Revenant was said to be the flagship of a vanished species, a ship that carried not just weapons but stories that had turned into wars. A myth, nothing more. Yet here it was, alive. The Dominion fleet moved to encircle it, their commanders clinging to training. It's one ship. Even if the legend is true, one ship cannot stand against 30. But as the Revenant stirred, as its cannons swiveled with terrifying precision, as its shields bloomed like the wings of a wrathful god, the lie collapsed. This was no ghost. This was humanity returned. The silence before fire. For a single heartbeat of galactic history, no one spoke. On the Dominion flag carrier Celestial Triumph, the Admiral gripped his command throne, mandibles quivering. His tactical officers stared at their screens, unable to reconcile what they saw. "Sir," one whispered, "the readings, they match no known energy profile. Their weapons arrays are unquantifiable. This ship, this Revenant, it shouldn't exist." Another added, "Its armor, it reflects scans. We cannot penetrate. It's as if the ship is aware we are watching." Fear rippled through officers trained never to feel it. Then a voice crossed the comms, deep, calm, human. "You told yourselves stories could not kill. You were wrong." The Dominion's fleet wavered. Their arrogance faltered, replaced by the crushing realization that the myths they had mocked were alive, and they were staring into the face of one. The Admiral, desperate to salvage dignity, barked the order, "Fire." 30 ships unleashed their wrath. Plasma lances, missile storms, beams of searing energy, all converged on the lone Terran ship. Space itself lit like a second sun, the kind of barrage that had reduced empires to ash. And when the fire cleared, the Revenant still stood. Its shields shimmered, its armor smoldered, but it was untouched. Then came its answer. A single shot. One round tore through the Dominion's vanguard, splitting a cruiser in half like parchment. A second shot vaporized a destroyer. The Revenant did not unleash a storm. It did not need to. Each strike was precise, devastating, final. The Dominion fleet's laughter, their arrogance, their certainty, all evaporated into horror. When stories kill, panic erupted. Fleets that had crushed countless enemies without resistance suddenly broke ranks. Admirals screamed for retreat. Captains begged for orders that could not come. The Dominion had mocked the myth of humanity for centuries, but in the cold expanse of the Perseid Gulf, they learned the truth. Stories were not harmless. Stories were weapons. Because humans had mastered something no empire ever understood: belief. They turned stories into engines, legends into strategies, myths into a shield and a blade. The Revenant pressed forward, not in rage but in inevitability. Its guns spoke, its presence thundered, its very name whispered through the comms of every Dominion ship like a curse. The officers realized they were not fighting a vessel. They were fighting the weight of every story ever told about humanity, each tale of defiance, each myth of impossible victory. And those stories killed. The Dominion fleet scattered, broken, their flagship burning. Those who survived carried with them a memory that would not fade, the sight of a legend tearing through reality, rewriting what was possible.